everybody! Today we are talking about an incredibly sad experience that recently I was kind of involved in for about 15 seconds.
He is friends with Oompaville, a gun-obsessed content creator.
And I love it. I'm really excited by it. It's one of my favorite things that I've seen in a long time. And honestly, it is sad. Overall, it's a sad thing. It comes from a channel called In Praise of Shadows. You might have heard of In Praise of Shadows. He makes pretty interesting content. He talks about all sorts of stuff like photography.
The philosophical idea behind photography at the time was that of straight photography or pure photography.
In Praise of Shadows is a bread tuber. You might have heard of bread tubers. It's a community of left-wing YouTubers that have a subreddit associated with them. It's a reference to the Conquest of Bread, an anarchist book from the late 1800s. It's interesting. This is a better example of a legitimate bread tuber, like literally a bread tuber. He's making bread. I've read the book, I've watched some of the YouTubers before. I have nothing against any of these people, but now I sort of do. I don't really. This shit's ridiculous though. This is one of the most mind-numbingly bad videos I've seen in a very long time, and I implore all of you to, once you finish watching this, go watch it yourselves and give me your thoughts, because my mind is boggled. I seriously cannot think of what to say 90% of the time when watching it or when attempting to react to different points made. It is so mind-bogglingly bizarre and goofy that it invokes some kind of feeling in me that I haven't felt in a very long time. So, but unfortunately, you will not be able to watch it because at the time of this video being made or edited or whatever the his video has been taken down, and he's posted a community post, and he's posted a Patreon post, and he's deleted his entire, like, we do not bully this man. Do not bully this man. This is not the only video that's being made against him. I do not want to dogpile on. I'm just going to give my honest thoughts and feedback to Mr. In Praise and Shadows after he threw my name in the hat with a bunch of people who he despises. Apparently, I am someone who he also despises. But that is not justification for you guys going out and beating him up on my behalf. Please do not do that. Today we're talking about In Praise of Shadows. Specifically, In Praise of Shadows' latest video called Bad Conservative Horror Movies.
But there's always been this thing that I've encountered more and more in recent years that is becoming more of a growing problem among modern horror releases, that I finally decided I wanted to publicly talk about it, which is this kind of anti-horror movie, where you sit down to watch a film and you get tricked into watching basically a conservative propaganda think piece that is cloaked in the cinematic language of a traditional horror film.
Normally, I wouldn't call Courage the Cowardly Dog any kind of think piece, but this guy and these people on YouTube have a real way with pulling a lot out of nothing and then interpreting it and then just using big words to make videos and seem smart and stuff. That's what this guy does. You might tell by the thumbnail that this is an interesting video. He's talking about the WAP guy from Daily Wire, this guy, Kevin Spacey, the Me Too fellow, and also Wendigo. Why Wendigo? He doesn't make horror movies. He loves horror and stuff, but why is this guy who has 395,000 subscribers, who provides horror history reviews and retrospectives, talking about Wendigo? So it's a 2-hour, 45-minute video. When it first released, it was a 3-hour and 10-minute video, basically, but he removed a 35-minute section in which he's just trashing Wendigoon. And then now it's a 0-minute video because the entire video has been deleted. That is bad, unfortunate. I actually feel bad. Do not bully this man, please. I feel bad, please. For the love of God, please.
If you're not aware, Wendigoon is a horror conspiracy theorist YouTuber with several million subscribers that, as you will hopefully come to see, should not be seen as the wholesome, southern, friendly dad persona that he has publicly constructed around himself in the past several years.
The video is about conservatives in horror and how he's upset that he gets called the F-slur by conservatives and there's nothing he really can do about it, and Wendigoon is a massive name in the horror community that cannot be criticized or else his audience will attack people and call them F-slurs. That seems like the main basis of the video, or at least that's what I could kind of distill into a reasonable small paragraph.
And the thing that people kept saying to me in all of this was, why do you even care? which, if you watch the comments under the video, I guarantee you will happen again, with takes like, oh, he's just a YouTuber. Why does it matter? Or, so what if he's a conservative? Is that a problem? Which, the answer to that is yes.
Overall, it's an interesting watch. I recommend watching it. And by the way, guys, he promises that it isn't the following.
That this video is not going to turn into a list of people who annoyed me on Twitter.
It does though. It does quite literally devolve into that. It goes from something that could be seen as succinct or predictable based on this guy's track record of making content. By the way, I do like some of his videos. I have watched some of his videos before. I watched his Courage the Cowardly Dog video that he released last year.
Agent Granny Stew was the next episode to air and has similar issues that Cat's Motel does. It's another episode that I've never been particularly fond of. And looking at it as an adult, it's because they clearly were still in the early process of figuring out what courage could and would be. It is the only episode that Eustace does not appear in. We also here will not see the farm where most Courage stories will take place. In fact, most of the locations in this are luscious green landscapes, which visually is not in line with most of the show. It is something they do in rare instances.
I thought it was good. I thought it was pretty good. I've watched a few of his videos. I didn't exactly know who he was, but it's just been kind of stuff that I've put on in the background. I thought they were interesting, but did watch a video that he posted 2 years ago about a movie called The Hills Have Eyes. And it seems like that video, him posting, the response that he got from that video is really what has led to this.
Wes Craven was in deep financial straits. It had been 4 years since his first and most recent film, The Last House on the Left, was unleashed onto the American drive-ins. And he was out of cash and desperate to get another project off the ground.
In that video, which is very long as well, and it has a lot of yapping, he glorifies the murder of the family in that movie. You know, the people whose car breaks down and they go find their dog. He glorifies the murder of that family because they are invading the cannibals' land. He's basically equating cannibals to like Native Americans or people who were somewhere and then bad hyper-conservative people came to that area and then made it their own.
There is some legitimate commentary that can be made here if looking at it through a generous lens. The United States government has a long history of taking away the autonomy of the body and removing personal choice by running medical tests or chemical tests on its citizens without knowing all of the possible outcomes. Forced sterilization, forced pregnancies, slavery, and pure negligence to lower class groups that has time and time again led to massive damage to health and loss of life.
It's a movie about cannibals killing a family, is actually what the movie is about. It's a terrible misrepresentation of The Hills Have Eyes, and it made him into a fool.
There's a forced breeding subplot in this that I think is particularly bad, where they're using women to farm babies for meat, which could have possibly been used as a commentary on the meat industry, but is hardly touched on beyond simple shock purposes.
Seriously, that video is like a parody.
This movie is essentially one of those unfortunate mid-2000s pieces, where good artists tried to make meaningful commentary on 9/11 and the situation in the Middle East. And that is the job of the artist to some degree, to comment on current social issues. But mixing soldiers into The Hills Have Eyes and then saying, look, it's just like the Middle East, isn't necessarily the statement that they thought it was.
The Hills Have Eyes video is wildly interesting. It's like the culture clash from the family and the mutants is what actually made the movie pretty good, but no, it's breadtuber hyper analysis of that movie, and it's foolish. It's seriously a ridiculous way to interpret that movie, and a lot of people thought the same way, and he's been bullied by it. He's been very, very, very bullied by it because you bashed conservatism, I guess, and somehow he equates that. This has led to this video with Wendigoon. How? I don't know. I don't understand why you would ever make a video like this, and I don't think he does either because he deleted 35 minutes of it. It used to have a lot more nonsensical rambling, but he edited that part out because he looks like a fool, and he misrepresented and lied about a lot of people, slandered, defamed some people, but it's okay, guys, because he's poor and he's a starving artist. Now he's taking a month off, which is not going to be good for the whole starving artist rent thing. I feel bad. This is a very sad situation. We'll get into it, okay? I first saw it when Brandon Buckingham tweeted, "This self-righteous breadtuber thinks if you are friends with internet historian, donut operator, shoe-on-head, Oompaville, Mudahar, Garan Thumb, Turkey Tom, Brandon Herrera, or myself, then you are a bad person." And I went to go watch the video because I saw that, and I was like, oh, I am. I didn't know I was a bad person. I try very hard to be respectful of people and not let, you know, any sort of preconceived beliefs that I haven't learned to earn get in the way of me treating other people I don't know with respect and kindness. I didn't realize that that wasn't me or everyone else he just mentioned in that tweet. So let's check it out.
Wendigoon is publicly friends with Donut Operator, and even retweeted a photograph of the two of them hugging. Donut Operator is a gun-crazed, very far-right YouTuber with 4 million subscribers, whose career consists of him reviewing footage of police officers shooting and killing people. He was once a cop himself, before he made more money making YouTube videos and retired. His content is very pro-state, pro-cop, pro-gun, and pro-death to people who don't share his beliefs propaganda. For example, one of his videos is titled, "Predator Takes Shotgun to the Face," and features a picture of him smiling in the corner of the thumbnail next to an image of a terrified man about to be executed by cops, with the text that reads, "Head removal."
I think it is important to note that a lot of the criticism this man is getting now that I think has led to him deleting a bunch of shit is people are just calling him a pedophile and using his own flawed logic that he used in this video to call out a bunch of people to just call him a predator because he's defending a predator. I don't know about all that stuff, but yeah, that was a bad move though, for sure. Bad move to specifically call out the predator video, the guy, the you know, the predator one as an example of someone who shouldn't face consequences for their actions. That is a pretty funny thumbnail. I wouldn't have posted that thumbnail myself, but that's just because it wouldn't have got ads. I love money. I don't like being a starving poor artist.
Hey everyone, Donut here. We got a couple of shootings for you today. The main shooting just warms my heart.
So that's an interesting point, right? He's trying to say that Donut Operator being happy that a predator gets blasted, it means he's a statist fascist or whatever. I don't really know. We'll keep going.
Wendigoon seems very comfortable with a man who makes his living worshipping violence committed by the state. He's a man of no conviction, claiming to be very against the government and for the rights of the people, while at the same time giving a warm embrace to one of the biggest fascist bootlickers on the internet. And the only thing that one could reasonably gather from this picture of them hugging is that he too is a fascist bootlicker himself.
Oh my god! Okay, so hold on. Okay, all right, hold on. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Hold on, it's okay.
Nick Crowley, who constantly makes money through the most morbid and shameful true crime content of showcasing the last minutes of people before they are suddenly and unexpectedly killed. Crowley is similar to Wendigoon, in that on the surface they seem fairly edgy, but clean enough. But then you notice that he follows less than 200 people on Twitter, and among them are the same circle with names like Wendigoon, Plagued Moth, Turkey Tom, Mr. Ballin, and Donut Operator.
All evil fascist bootlickers, by the way, guys. All of those people are evil fascist bootlickers.
Plagued Moth, a completely shameful content creator who reviewed snuff films on his Patreon before it was taken down, and has been accused of showing genuine gore content to minors on Discord, and whose main YouTube channel consists of him reviewing censored videos of horrible acts of real-life violence and death. He is publicly friends with Shoe on Head, who is a conservative masquerading as a leftist, who has built a career off of lazy anti-woke content, complaining about SJWs, who says stuff like, Karl Marx rising from the grave finding out his movement has been taken over by fat, ugly, mentally ill losers. He is friends with Brandon Buckingham, a gun YouTuber who has been accused of threatening. He is friends with...
Okay, so there's me right there. I like that stance, but let's go back to Brandon Buckingham, by the way.
Brandon Buckingham, a gun YouTuber who has been accused of threatening...
This is unbelievably f***ed up. This is, blur this photo for one. This is Brandon Buckingham's grandfather, who is incredibly sick, and this is Wendigoon commenting on it in support of this a couple months ago, and he's using this to say that Brandon Buckingham has been accused of rape and is a bad person that Wendigoon is associated with because of Wendigoon responding. For one, the rape thing is a lie made by Andrew Tate Light.
Rape accusations are not pawns you get to use to make people look bad because they've spoken ill of you online. Are you not smart enough to understand that?
Hogan is gonna run the train on her like she asked us to last time I was in town.
Yo, you know who's an L-mans? Brandon Buckingham. He literally threatened to R-word my girlfriend. Bro, literally said, I'm gonna R-word your girlfriend. Literally said that.
Sneeko made that lie. So for one, this is so so intellectually dishonest. Everything said before this and after this, from this point on, because it's something incredibly easy to research and look up with a simple Google, is invalid. Everything before this and after this is completely invalid, regardless of how you feel politically or if any of this makes you mad or upset or whatever. This guy is a bad guy. This is a bad guy thing to do. This is not a good guy thing to do. This is a man who is grateful that one of his paternal family members is home and recovering from the hospital, and this guy is calling him a guy and using that. Like, this is so bad and evil that it is difficult to describe how bad and evil it is. Now let's get on to where he talks about me.
He is friends with Oompaville, a gun-obsessed content creator that has made content with the human trafficker Andrew Tate.
Yes, I have made content. I did make a video with Andrew Tate in which I interviewed him, and this was in July of 2022 or August of 2022, whatever. If you look up Andrew Tate Oompaville, I mean, I didn't know making content with someone. I mean, if you put someone in a video, does that count as making content with him? This is the video he's talking about where I interviewed him, and I talked to Andrew Tate before he went to jail for months for trafficking. Hello. My name is Oompaville, aka K. And this is another video in which I'm sort of not being that nice to him. This is another video in which I called out his friends. Yeah, it's kind of weird to just like say that I make content with Andrew Tate and that's kind of like my thing, you know? That's just like the thing that I'm most known for. And what he talked about before that, legally. So let's go back to the gun obsessed.
He is friends with Oompaville, a gun-obsessed content creator.
He's friends with Oompaville, a gun-obsessed content creator. Yes, I am gun-obsessed. I have a lot of guns. It means I'm gun-obsessed. I love the Constitution. I love the First Amendment, and I love the idea of being able to say whatever you want and criticize whatever you want without worrying about going to jail or being persecuted by the state, and then actually being able to uphold and defend that amendment using firearms and weapons en masse. There's more guns than there are people in America, and I think that honestly, this guy doesn't really belong anywhere. It seems like he doesn't want to belong anywhere. He pretends to want to belong places, I think, but he'd rather be a tortured genius who understands far more than all of us, is just bad at misrepresenting his mind and speaking that. Now he's further misunderstood. God, I feel bad for him. Like, seriously, I really actually feel bad for him. But yeah, this is Wendigoon offering me advice because I stovepiped my Glock because it's really dirty and I've never cleaned it, and it's still really dirty and I always shoot it with a suppressor. But yes, gun obsessed. What does being obsessed with guns have to do with anything, bro? Like, what is wrong with this guy? What the is that? I'm not gun obsessed anyways. What the does that even mean? I'm not, you're obsessed with Wendigoon. I've never made a 45-minute video on guns talking about ethics and shit. What are you talking about? You're obsessed with all of us, you weirdo. God damn.
Has made content with the human trafficker Andrew Tate. He is friends with Mutahar,
Here's Mutahar,
who argued
too.
against Andrew Tate being deplatformed from social media websites.
I would also argue that he shouldn't be deplatformed from social media websites because, like, what really good does it really do? You know, doesn't really. It just creates more of a divide. This guy's really into divides. It seems like this guy's really against unity and people getting along and sharing ideas and thoughts and opinions and sort of safe public discourse. He really wants deplatformed people. He doesn't want conservatives in horror. I can't really tell what the reason is why. He seems very angry and he is unable to articulate a succinct point to explain this nonsense that he's spewing.
And has recently showcased a great deal of transphobia in his most recent video.
Okay, well, if you watch the video and if you look at the thumbnail and you learn anything about this situation at all, you would realize that that's just not true. You realize that this is just not true. So once again, another intellectually dishonest thing. No research has been done here.
He has publicly interacted in a friendly way with the account Rock Solid on multiple occasions. And with just a quick look at their profile, I saw them liking anti-trans posts and neo-Nazi content. He interacts positively with Disclose.tv, a far-right propaganda website that uses hate speech, engages in Holocaust denialism, and platforms neo-Nazis. He has appeared in content with Mr. Gunzengear, whose Twitter bio reads, "Dedicated to restoring the civil rights of Americans." But despite that, he's tweeted negatively about trans people many times. He has interacted positively with Garand Thumb, who has said, "The traditional family should be encouraged and strengthened. I see little to no support from the government or big media." He has said anti-trans statements. He has called people degenerates, and has said that non-traditional sexual interactions are a disgusting, hedonistic lifestyle. That is the breakdown of the family unit.
How is that not incredible? Like, say what you will and think what you will about LGBTQ stuff. I mean, I'm completely cool with anybody doing whatever they want, obviously. And I'm not going to continue that sentence and say, as long as it don't affect me none, because I know it doesn't at all. I'm not a idiot, all right? I just don't care. I love people. I have friends, and I love them. I don't give a who they are. I like cool people. That's the end of the story. But that right there, swinging is a disgusting hedonistic lifestyle and is the breakdown of the family unit. I feel like hedonism doesn't exactly ever end well. My dogs, for example, both hedonists. It makes you rotten. It makes you like a rotten person. And I don't know if there's any evidence to back any of that up or if I'm just making shit up, but I think that I'm at liberty to do so given the factual spewing of nonsense over the last 15 minutes from this goob.
Wendigoon is publicly friends with Brandon Herrera, who has made jokes that implied that he was sympathetic with public shooters who killed leftists, and collaborated with Kyle Rittenhouse, who has posted images of himself with an MP40, which is a gun used by the Nazis, that he described as the original ghetto blaster.
This has to be a parody, is it not?
Days of being part of the Boogaloo movement, but I cannot find substantial proof on if this is true or not. But I've seen several comments saying this, so online it is at least culturally believed to be true. He has appeared in gun-related content with Haley Luan, an influencer whose content is based entirely around making the United States military appear fun and bizarrely sexually appealing. Which again, for someone who is supposedly anti-government, he sure does seem to have a lot of wealthy white friends who actively work to uphold the values of the American empire. Then of course, there is his username. To the Algonquin people, the Wendigo is a negative spiritual symbol that is to be avoided and whose name is to never even be said out loud or written down. So I know there's a bit of a hypocrisy there on my part, but we kind of do have to say it for academic purposes, so apologies for that. Starting with Algernon Blackwood's horror short story called The Wendigo. People have for hundreds of years taken the creature and used it for their own means, including Wendigoon in his very name, which is something that indigenous people have been very critical with him now for years. This next thing that I'm trying to argue is not to discredit his feelings regarding to his own personal history. But what I will say is that Americans who are white or partially white in rural areas love to claim a percentage of native heritage for bizarre conservative reasons, relating to, like, reverence for the land and fascistic nostalgia for a time that never existed and stuff like that.
So basically what I'm getting from like the last minute of speaking is that if you do have a Native American ancestor, you are not allowed to have an opinion on anything. He's gatekeeping it, is what he's doing. This is so... I mean, do you guys understand? This is mind-boggling. I don't know other way to put it. This is mind-boggling. It's dumb. It gets nothing done at all. And I'm Oompaville. I'm Oompaville, the gun-obsessed YouTuber, and I can clearly and rationally see why this is stupid. And I'm not like crazy. I'm not crazy guy. I'm not crazy right guy, crazy left guy. I'm just sort of, I like looking at things and proposing ideas in my brain and thinking about them rationally, regardless of what I've been taught or what I think I know. This is stupid, objectively.
There are 26 million people in this region, and well over 80% of them are white, with the majority of the others being Latinos. And if I had no cultural connection around me to that non-white percentage of my history, then what really would give me the right to dictate whether or not what I was doing was appropriate? I really would have no ground to stand on. The other thing that I would add to this is that Wendigoon and I are practically neighbors, and I know this area very well. Okay, so I live in Asheville, North Carolina, and between that and the reservation, you have the community of Lake Junaluska, which isn't actually even a real town. You can walk across the whole thing in a matter of minutes. You got Waynesville, you have Maggie Valley, and a few other small drive-by communities. And beyond that is the Cherokee Reservation. Wendigoon lives somewhere just on the other side of the reservation. That is not me doxing him. He has said many times publicly that he lives in East Tennessee. And I'm not even saying what town he lives in.
Yeah, this isn't doxing him because this is just not true. This is not accurate information. Also, he said he was 21 years old earlier. He's not 21 years old. This is just zero research. Dumbass yapping.
According to the latest census, there are only 23 black people who live in Maggie Valley. There are 15 Native Americans despite it touching the reservation. Most of this area used to be sundown towns. It is about as white as you could possibly get. Deep Appalachia is very white country, and for the most part, is exceptionally racist. Genuinely in this part of the country, you have to assume that any white person you meet is racist unless they show you otherwise.
Okay, and that's where I check out. That's where I check out, and I felt very strongly about that part specifically because, like, all things considered, it was very bad. Very bad. Sorry, I got a little triggered by the Appalachian part, the Appalachian people all being racists until proven otherwise part. This is how he ends the chapter.
I care deeply about horror, and everything that he does has demonstrated so far in his career that he should not be welcomed in our spaces, or even, just in public in general.
What is that even supposed to mean? You shouldn't welcome in public? He's nicer than you are. He's done more good objectively than you have. Well, actually, maybe as a result of this video showing everyone your true colors and your hand that you showed incredibly early, that you're just a sad, sour, angry man who is upset still at a video you posted 2 years ago, having a negative reaction and being bullied for it. Maybe this is good. Maybe he can say this stuff because he's a martyr. I think he might be a martyr. Back to the Appalachian people thing. I'm from Appalachia. Okay, I'm from Western Northern Virginia, not West Virginia, but the take me home country roads, like the Shenandoah River. I lived in Front Royal for most of my life. I was homeschooled. A lot of my family is from like Southern Maryland and Martinsburg, West Virginia. Those two areas combined into Northern Virginia, the western part of Northern Virginia, not the eastern part, not Loudon, not Fairfax. Them's is rich folk. Okay. I grew up poor, like a lot of people in the area. And by the way, I don't think that growing up poor or not having access to, cool rich people things makes me a better person or a smarter person. It just made my life harder, I think. Maybe it didn't. I have no idea. And nor do I care to compare my life based on things I can't control, like where I was born. I don't care to compare that to other people. Okay, so that's the end of the video. I'm not watching anything else from Praise Shadows or whatever the his name is. Baby Boy McSoy or whatever. I don't even like saying that either. I think the whole soy boy thing is pretty lame. I feel stupid even saying that, but I don't know what else to say. I feel like I need to be mean, but I'm fighting that urge heavily. The response to his video was very bad. Wendigoon left a comment defending himself or acknowledging the piece in an incredibly wholesome and intelligent way, like he always does to idiots that are up in arms about him and his faith and the way that he is online, the people that he hangs out with, whatever, all the nonsense. You can read that big ass comment. It's awesome. It's good. He says he'll let his friends defend themselves and he doesn't need to. Yeah, it's pretty cool. This is in praise of Shadow's response. Hey Fred, about the West Food Days. Many people have said very fair criticism of me and my work. I did not appropriately portray people, and I would like to address that. To Brandon, I do need to apologize to you for two things. The first, you are right. It was wrong for me to use that picture. I included it to show that you and Wendigoon had a closeness. There are other images of Brendan Buckingham and Wendigoon that you don't have to clown on Brendan Buckingham's sick family member. I'm not a researcher or a journalist or a smart guy or anything like that. For what it's worth, I am genuinely Sam sorry. The second is, I did not do my diligence when looking into allegations against you. To be honest, I saw pictures of you with Turkey Tom, with Donut Operator, and Wendigoomp, and with Brandon Herrera, and often with a gun in your hand. I wrote you off because I am very angry. And it's not about intelligence, it's not about integrity, it's not about doing the right thing, it's not about being good or even right at the end of the day. It's about just being emotional and angry and then not giving a for 2 days, and then you delete all your stuff because you do give a fuck because you are an actual potentially smart person. And I don't know if this is from integrity that he's doing this kind of stuff or if he is just sad because he's not going to be able to pay his rent and eat because everyone's clowning on him and he may have just committed career suicide. I really don't know what the answer to this is, or at least pretending not to give a but then giving so much of a you edit an entire portion out of it. Anyways, I did not feel you were worth my time, and that was a result of the company you keep. Ultimately, that is a failing on me, though, in how I presented that. At least he's taking some responsibility for his actions here. You using homophobic language to me, though, and calling me a low testosterone freak does not change my opinions about you. My base thoughts remain the same, even though I should have said them differently and not let that cloud my writing. Okay, hold on. We gotta fucking find the tweet from Brandon calling him a low test freak. Hey, Prey Shadows, going through every one of Wendigoon's friends and insulting them to try and paint him in a bad light makes you seem like a desperate and pathetic freak. You seem like you have low testosterone. It could be making you moody. Try exercising and shooting guns. So clearly like a jab or a joke or something along those lines. Either way, funny, and I like it, and I wish I would have said it first. Apparently that's homophobic. You using homophobic language to me, though, and calling me a low testosterone freak. Is that homophobic? Is calling someone a low testosterone freak, are gay guys low testosterone? I didn't know that. I wasn't aware that sexual orientation had anything to do with your hormone levels. Let's see. Gay man. Let's look up gay man and let's just see if they have low testosterone. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm not really seeing, if I didn't know that I just looked up gay, I don't know if I would be able to see like a trend of gayness here. I'm not really sure what's going on. So yeah, I think maybe he's projecting. I don't know if it's a Freud moment. I don't know if it's one of those Freud moments. Maybe it is. Not 100% sure. To Mudahar, your thumbnail art was transphobic. I have nothing else to say to that. I always try to do my best. I tapped the ball here in how I presented this. My heart was in the right place. I try to live my life with integrity. If you have watched me for a long time, I hope you know this. I will believe in anything trying to do the right thing and standing up to things that I do not believe in. What do you believe in? I'm confused as to what this guy believes in. I'm very confused as to what his ideals are, his morals, his ethics. Like, does he read books? Is he an anarchist? He thinks owning guns is bad or being obsessed with guns is bad. So being able to defend yourself is bad, but being able to stand up for yourself is good. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what this is. He's defending hedonism. He thinks that hedonism is better than gun ownership or something along those lines. And the sheer thought of wanting to positively portray the traditional family in a public space as evil and bad. What is going on? I smell rot. I smell a lot of rot coming from all of this. I also like to think that he's telling that the bulk of what I said has not actually been addressed at all, and that many criticisms were instead about details that I got wrong, such as the nature of Brandon's work. I feel like it's important to not even note if they did it. The nature of Brandon's work is that he was a gun tuber. He's not a gun tuber. He's made like one video out of a lot that were about guns, and it's just because he hung out with the dudes in San Antonio. No one's addressing your criticisms because they're not criticisms. They're just wrong, and it makes no sense to even acknowledge it. It's just wrong, and it makes no sense. That's why nobody's it's telling. Yes, it's telling for you. You should look in the mirror. You should absolutely 100% reflect on this with no preconceptions, okay? That's my advice to him. Mentally, I have grown very tired of conservatives picking apart my work for 2 years. I am worn down. I let my emotions get the best of me here, but the core idea is this needed to be addressed. No, it didn't. It didn't need to be addressed. Nothing was accomplished. If anything, you made yourself look like a fool, and you sort of devalued everything that you stand for, and for all of the other people that stand for those things, they have been further devalued. I sincerely hope that this doesn't, result in a breakdown of communication or something along those lines and make things worse and cause more of a divide, because I feel like that's absolutely the last thing that needs to be done here. But this was beneath me. This was a product that began with the hills have eyes, ultimately. See, I told you! I made this video to say that even if Wendigoon did not harbor hate, that his base was made of it, and he was comfortable making money from that. And I think that point stands true and has now been proven. It is now time to end this. Today, I will be taking that section down from my video. I'll be gone for a month while I recharge and work on projects at a slower pace. I thought this was important to talk about. I still do. But the way I went about it was beneath the normal standard that I hold myself to. What standard do you hold yourself to? It wasn't even beholden to a standard. There was no standard. You just lied. You didn't even do any research. You made a whole chapter. You just made shit up. As to my audience, I apologize for that. If you felt that you've been mischaracterized, that was not my intention and I genuinely am sorry. There are ways to talk about this that could have been more professional, and as with anything in life, I'll use this to learn and do better. I care so much about horror. It is my life, and I grew tired and scared of seeing hate growing on the fringe of something I care so deeply about. Horror is about kindness. Horror is about love. Until next time! Hey bro, so far the only content creator I see spewing hate and vitriolic rhetoric that isn't backed by anything logical or imperial is you stupid. Not Wendigoon, by the way, just for clarity. So let's watch this again.
Appalachia is very white country, and for the most part, is exceptionally racist. Genuinely in this part of the country, you have to assume that any white person you meet is racist unless they show you otherwise.
How are they supposed to show you otherwise? By saying, well, I have a black friend, because that's not good enough for people, by the way. That's like a joke. It's like a meme. How are they supposed to show you? How are they supposed to show you? Get on all four knees and pray to a god that doesn't exist? What is going on? What is wrong with this guy? What would make someone say that about an entire group of people? What the would make someone say that about an entire group of people? Like, I didn't want to make a video about this because it's ironic. It's like I'm such a small, minute part of it, and I don't even give a about anything he said about me. But this guy is such a fool, especially when it comes to who cares about the mischaracterization of all these people. It's easy to prove that wrong. Bro just overgeneralized an entire group of people that are systemically forgotten and impoverished. It's like, what are you doing? Wait, it's just because they're white people. So it's fine, guys. Getting called out and just saying, hey, my heart was in the right place. Normally I have a better standard. No one with a functioning brain will believe that your heart was in a right place. You are full of hate. You are a bigot. You are an actual example of a bigot. There aren't that many left nowadays, at least not in my circles. And I hope you learn from this. And I hope that the month off doesn't affect you too poorly, my brother in Christ, because it will. It will. You need to work a little bit to be able to make money. This guy moans about not being able to pay the rent, and he's the starving, tortured genius artist who he doesn't take ads. He doesn't take sponsor deals for his money. He doesn't care about money. He's doing this so he can lie and spread false information about people. Is that what he's doing it for? Because that's what's happening. So he can be hilariously wrong to the point where people think a video is a parody of reality. What is the point? What are you doing, bro? I would love to talk to this guy in all honesty, and I would love to pay him a salary and just learn from him. I will gladly pay him however much money he makes on his YouTube channel, probably like $100 a month. I will gladly replace that. If he can show me some books to read, to be able to understand where he's coming from, teach me so I can understand where he's coming from, to where someone can rationally believe the things that he's saying online. And I'm not saying irrationally believe, because that makes sense. Like if it's just a madman shouting and screaming who needs to be medicated, that makes sense. I would like concrete explanations for what the is going on online. That's what I would like. I mean, sorry. So yeah, no ill will to praise Shadows. I'm sure he's gonna bounce back, genuinely speaking. I made a lot of jokes in this video. I think the Appalachian thing should not be forgiven. I think that's nonsensical to say some shit like that. Honestly, I hope he is not allowed in public in Appalachia for overgeneralizing 25 million people who, you know, are downtrodden, relatively speaking, statistically speaking. Maybe I would say that. I would say that he shouldn't be welcome in public. But no, that would be rude if I said that. I don't really know. Yeah, anyways, nonsense.